How do you prepare a new room when you're leading a breakout or a different session at a corporate event? Hey, this is the third video in a series on mastering the art of hosting a corporate event. And I'm going to be showing you some behind the scenes footage of a recent event I did for C2P Enterprises in Clearwater, Florida, where we were going to be inviting 40 participants into a new room that I hadn't been in before. And I'm going to show you some of the things I do to pre-walk the room, make sure that it's ready to go. Hey there, I'm Josh Friberg, and this channel is all about helping you elevate your events. I work as a transformational MC, and what that means is that I guide corporate events and help them be more connected and collaborative by moving the learning from passive to active and inviting the expertise off the stage and down to the floor where everyone becomes co-teacher and co-learner. If this is interesting to you, hey, would you do me a favor and subscribe to the channel? You know that helps with YouTube, as well as watch some of the other videos and let me know what you found most interesting or maybe would like to learn more about. You can obviously make a comment on the video and we'll make sure that I'll make sure I put together a video that responds to your question. Hey, in this video, I want you to watch some of the technical things that I do to make sure that the room is ready. It's going to involve things like checking the where the cameras are, how the audio is working, if the slide deck is working, but also, and this is really important, I don't think I referenced it in the video, is just getting your internal state ready. And we're going to talk about that more in the future, but one of the things that can help make you really comfortable if you maybe haven't hosted an event before, or you're emceeing for the first time, or maybe you're preparing one of the people on your team to MC a section or facilitate a section of a meeting, or prepare to deliver a presentation. One of the things that can really help a lot is to go get comfortable in the physical space of the room and also allow that to manage your internal state. Hey, take a look at this video and let's see what we can learn from this behind the scenes footage.
All right, so a little advanced planning can make such a difference, and it's always something that's really important to check. You know, this room was set up for this retreat. We're going to have a breakout session with about 40 team members for C2P Enterprises. These are team members on different financial advising teams from all across the country. But because this is a new room today with new AV, new tech setup, it's always important that we check the room ahead of time. Now, this was set up by Encore and it's really professionally done. Additionally, we have a professional videographer who's set up their camera. And I came in here a few minutes early with them and he showed me where the boundaries are of the camera to make sure that I'm staying and operating within that so that we can capture the footage really well. The second thing that the other thing we always want to do is check the AV. So let's take a quick look. We're going to grab the lav mic and turn that on, make sure that sounds great, sounds terrific. And we also have a handheld mic that we're going to be using in the room as well. But what about the slide deck? So I sent my slides ahead of time to the team that put them all together and made sure that it fit their style guide for this event. They loaded those onto a laptop that was already in the room when I got here this morning, but I want to check the clicker, make sure that we are in fact advancing through our slides and that those are all working just perfectly. And indeed, they are. So this room is really well set up. The last thing I always love to have in a room is a great flip chart. That's right. You never know what is going to come up as a topic of conversation throughout the day. So the ability to grab a flip chart and do some notes is going to be really important, really valuable, and helpful to kind of shift on the fly to follow the energy of the room and what topics people might want to talk about or deep dive on. So this is a great way to make sure the room's all set, that you feel comfortable with the space, and that everything's set up for the participants to have a really valuable learning experience.
Well, that day ended up being a pretty amazing day, and I'm certain that pre-walking the room helped a lot. Interesting side note that wasn't mentioned in that video is that the next day we had a whole session prepared, and an hour and a half before the session kicked off, the person who had hired me called or texted me and said, hey, we want to change everything that we've prepared to do. So all the slides, we were going to throw those out. The agenda we were going to throw out. We were going to redesign the whole thing in just 90 minutes. When you're comfortable with the room, when you're comfortable with the people, this actually becomes a lot easier to do because you're able to give your full attention to the changes that need to happen. We're going to talk more about how to make changes when you are hosting a corporate event, but continue to do the work of preparing before you step on stage, because this is one of the key ways that we can elevate our events. I was just editing this video and I realized there was an important piece that I missed. I wanted to make sure we included when you think about preparing a room. Now, in that video, we were talking about some of the mechanics of the room, doing things like making sure the mics work, making sure that the AV works, and that's super important. But I have developed a habit of, if possible, showing up to an event the day before the event. Now, that wouldn't be the same if it was like driving distance from my house or something like that. But if I'm flying to an event, I want to fly in the day before. And one of the reasons that I do that is so that I can pre-walk the rooms. I mean, even doing things like figuring out where breakfast is going to be, figuring out where the room is going to be, so that it's one less thing for me to think about the day of the event. And I was reflecting on why it is that I've developed this habit. And it really has to do with getting my internal state right. You see, when you come to MC an event, there are a lot of moving parts, and not only like the mechanics of it, but there's also a lot of like moving personalities, if I could say it that way. There's different people that have different expectations, different goals, different things that need to go right for them to have an amazing experience. And so you want to be really in a place to take that all in, to be aware, to be present. And if you're worried about, does my computer work? Do I have batteries for my clicker? Is the microphone working? Well, now all of a sudden you're taking up brain space and emotional energy on those things instead of on the things that matter most, which is the human component of it, right? The reason we gather as humans is so that we can have a human experience, so that we can have connection with other people. And if we're distracted, if we're stressed, if we're freaking out about something, well, then now you're just introduced one more like negative human component that doesn't need to be there. And so the more comfortable you can get with the space and the sort of practical matters, the more you're going to be able to give your attention to the heart matters, to the human component of the event, right? And it doesn't matter who you have in the room. It doesn't matter how like hard charging engineer types you have in the room. They're still humans, and there's still like egos at play. There's still, relationships and people wanting to have their goals met, have their expectations met. And so the more you can do to get yourself ready, the better you're going to be. And so this includes things like, and I always have like this go bag backpack with me that has every cord I could possibly think of needing, right? Every spare battery that I could possibly think of needing. I actually have a first aid kit in there and a trauma kit in there. I have food and snacks and water and electrolytes, right? I have Advil and throat coat tea. All these things are there so that it's one less thing for me to worry about, so I can be present to the people that I'm with. These kinds of little tips and tricks seem small, but added up, they make a really big difference. And so one of the things that has constantly come up for me is we'll have some sort of disaster, right? Something goes wrong and people around me are freaking out. And I just go to this place of like, cool, this is perfect. This is exactly what was supposed to happen. Now, was it? No, of course not. It was a mistake. Something got missed. Something went wrong. Power went out. Fire alarm went off. Who knows? They evacuated the building. What are we going to do? And I just say, well, it is what it is. Therefore, it's perfect in that we now get to respond to it, demonstrate to the people that we're with what it means to be human and to be gathered so that we can learn from each other, so we can grow together. The event didn't get derailed. The purpose of the event didn't change. The purpose of the event is still to bring people together, to learn together, to share ideas, to connect and to grow. And so we can do that in the midst of a change of plans, something unexpected happening. Well, we're going to continue to give you more ideas of some of the tactical things, the practical things to do in an event, but a lot of that is in service to those intangible things, those relational soft skills that you are able to lean into and master when you've practiced and prepared for the tactical, practical, and hard skill things. So hope that helps. Thanks for watching. And hey, if you made it all the way to here, take a second to subscribe and maybe throw a comment in about what you'd like to learn about next as we continue to learn how to elevate our events.